Voilà, c'est bon. Bonjour à tous. I'm going to do this in English because most of you speak English and I do too. So if I am a little bit low on energy, I'm a little bit sick, but don't be afraid. It's not Corona. I just had like too much champagne last night. So, the original title of my presentation was, well, actually, I kind of forgot, but you know, this is the new title of my presentation. And so I want to make a point why forgetting is so important. So what you can see on this screen is a grocery list that I sent 12 years ago to my girlfriend, Kiki. Actually, it's fake because we haven't been together that long, but anyway. And so on this list you can see very much personal items. Like you probably, if you want, you can get a lot of information from me. For instance, I like olive oil. But more important, you see like baby wipes. So I have a baby. Well, it's a big kid now. And you know, you can see all these little details. And you know, the thing is, I was like wondering recently, why? Like, why, for God's sake, am I keeping all this information like 12 years after the fact? Because, you know, obviously it has no value at all to me. So I did a very, very non-scientific analysis of my personal data, and I came to a quick conclusion that like 93%, approximately, it's not scientific, 93% of this is like, it's rubbish. Actually, it's trash. It's like really not important. 2% are fun memories I want to keep, and then 5% is stuff I really should keep. So, why do I keep, and I guess many of you do that too, why do we keep all these old messages, files, and photos, and stuff? So, I discovered yesterday that I was in the security track. This is the security track. And so, this is not about like security, network security or anything, but this is to me about like, what is security? I had to look it up actually, like what is security? In the dictionary it says, you can see at B, it's freedom from fear or anxiety. And actually, then if we go to freedom, I know these are like basic concepts, but still, if you go to freedom, it says like, I am free from slavery, or I am not under the restraint from the power of someone else. And actually, I'm not throwing away all this data because I'm anxious that I will miss something or that I will throw out something that I shouldn't do. And you know, doing this selection basically is taking a lot of energy and mental power. So this is why we don't do it. And we just are like, yeah, let's just store everything. Now, why is this bad? I'm going to take you through these topics very shortly. To make my point that storing data, like storing everything, is bad for privacy, for our democracy and society. It's also bad ecologically, like for nature. It's bad for security, humanity, and it's really bad for you personally. I always like it when people put quotes in their presentations, so I did the same thing. I found this quote by an anonymous Facebook developer in 2011. Like 10 years ago. And he describes, like, you know, he doesn't know why exactly yet, but what they're doing feels unethical at that time. But at the same time, with all these like cloud companies and corporations, like storing everything, it feels for free, right? Became the reality for the user. But if you store everything, and now we go into these topics, like for instance, like why is it bad for society? If you store everything, it means you have total control over everybody. Eric Schmidt, or I should say Eric Schmidt, because actually he's American, the ex-CEO of Google, Alphabet, literally said this. They don't like, you know, they're not like sugarcoating this, they're literally saying like, we know where you are, we know where you've been, and we can more or less know what you're thinking about. I thought like this, oh, this is, at least he's honest, right? At least he makes us aware of what he's thinking about. And then we have the great General Keith Alexander, who was the director of the NSA at the same time, and he is less vocal about it. He just says like, collect it all. It's because it's military talk. They have to be short and say like, collect it all. And they did. So basically the NSA is tapping everything, like literally everything. If you don't believe me, just go back to, you know, Edward Snowden's revelations were like years ago now, but still, I don't know, people forgot about it. Another big problem is that if you store everything and you know everything about everybody, you know, this is Damien Collins. He was the head of the UK's Parliament Digital Culture Media and Sports Company. Anyway, he's like a government official, right? And he actually admitted that data profiling of voters with the Brexit was done so much that the outcome actually, that they could actually manipulate the outcome. I hope most of you know the story of Cambridge Analytica. If you don't, like Google it, please. It's funny, Google it. But anyway, find it because, you know, this company actually changed the outcome of elections. You know, it started with the election of Ted Cruz in, I don't know which state, Americans here?
Who cares?
Who cares? Texas. Yeah, giddy up, Ted Cruz. And many people say this was like a general, like a rehearsal for the election of Donald Trump later, who was definitely elected by manipulating people. Now, maybe let's go into a little bit more like a personal touch. So for humans, forgetting is really important. If you would like remember everything, you would be living like a plant somewhere in a mental institution. I mean, at least that's how I imagine it. Because, you know, if you can't select stuff that you want to remember and that you don't remember, your brain just fills up and you're done. I really like this quote. We do not remember days, we remember moments. The richness of life lies in the memories we have forgotten. This would have been a good end slide. Another topic is, like I said, like ecologically, you know, we all know that data centers, if you look again, if you look at Google Maps and you do the time slider thing, you can actually see, you know, some places and how data centers grew and expanded. And so they not only take a lot of land, they also consume enormous amounts of energy and have a big carbon footprint. Building these things, like cooling it, you know, the energy consumption, the mining of data, this is all, yeah, you have to think back of my graphic. So like 93% of our stuff is being, you know, cooled and mined and consumed by these machines, which is totally unnecessary. So I believe we should think in terms of evaluating of our data valuation, because it's really important that we figure out what's like important and what's not. The more you keep, the harder it becomes to throw things out. I don't know if you guys, or is that relatable? But I'll show you some pictures. This person, this is not, these are pictures from Google. I mean, these are not friends of mine. No, sorry, Kevin, it's not. I didn't take this picture. So this is a picture from someone else, from someone else's house, and this is like total rubbish, of course. This person is, you know, it's like getting a little bit better. You can see there is some categorization going on. And this guy, he nailed it, right? You can definitely see that he used categories and tags to get an overview on all his stuff. So yeah, clearly this is a metaphor for your digital life. This is how your digital footprint looks like, really. So you can see that this person, how does this work? These are like bottles. It's like, these are all the things I love drinking in my life. You know, it's like I can't, you know, I need to keep this memory. And then there were clocks. Yeah, there's like clocks, tons of clocks. So anyway, so this is basically you in your digital life. Because one item is easy to dispose, right? But if you keep 2 things or 3, it's like, ah, shit, this is a collection. I have to, you know, and then the interface guys, they're brilliant, right? Instead of, you know, leaving you with all this stress, they say like, hey, we're going to help you categorize stuff. So at a certain moment, Gmail introduced like categories, and they have AI that help you like categorizing your stuff that you really don't need. And then Apple, for instance, has these, they introduced like colorful tags, which is like, it looks nice because it's a rainbow, but I mean, it's stupid. I don't think anyone uses it. And the end result is that this is my, this is like one of my mailboxes, one of my Google mailboxes has like more than 30,000 emails. So, how are we going to help users from data hoarding? So I wanna coin this term here at HCC. So I'm introducing forget first design. We all know mobile first. This is like forget first design. And how can we do this? So sorry, I should introduce myself. I'm Michel, and I work with Swarm, Ethereum Swarm. And so we do decentralized storage. And so what's really cool, I think, about Swarm and other storage solutions that I cannot name, what's really cool about them is that you actually have to pay someone to keep your data. So almost like built in to the design of what it is, like we have to figure out, like, is this important enough to keep, and for how long, which I really like. And Danny is right here. He wrote a brilliant paper, as always, that I maybe sort of understand. Sorry. And so I read it, and it's the Dream Protocol, and actually this is the point, right? It's like, how do you design a system where you make sure that people can delete their data? It's actually not that easy. We also have a concept that's called postage stamps in Swarm, where you actually, you know, tell miners, no, it's not miners, it's like node operators, you know, how much is this data or these chunks of data, how much is that worth for you? Of course, there's like a hashing algorithm, I think it's called. And so this means that for every file, you just get a hash. And if you upload the same file, you get the same hash. So, you know, you don't have like duplicate data like, you know, we used to do. I have many, many megabytes of the same picture in, you know, on my phone, for instance, which is like really silly. So less data duplication means less hoarding. But this is on the infrastructure level. So I'm more like a front-end kind of person. So I was wondering, like, what can we do in the front end to keep the user from data hoarding? And basically we can ask them, like for instance, the duration. Yeah, I call it Frontend Forgetting. You know, before you create the data even, you know, you should think as a developer, you should think like, is this needed? Because most of the time it's not needed, and we just copy the practices that Google does, and we all learn stuff like from Facebook, and so we just do it and we don't really think about, like, do we need to keep this data? If you're not sure, ask the user, like, do you really want to keep this data? And I found this example interesting. So AI, if you have like a Waze or Google Maps, it will tell you after a while, hey, should I set this as your home location, or should I set this as your work location? And they do this by storing every like meter you do, like between your home and your workplace. They actually, you know, every like centimeter will be logged. This is really not necessary if you would just do like a scoring system where you say like, oh, this is probably work, and every time you just do like a mark, like, yes, this is work. You don't have to store all that data, and still you get the same functionality. Then, if you do create data, you know, you can simply help the user, right? You can ask him like, do you really want to keep this photo? You haven't, you know, looked at it for 5 years. You know, don't ask why, because that's like, you know, privacy invasive. But you can just ask like, do you really need this? Maybe you write like a fun software where you say like, hey, let's clean up your inbox today together. Or maybe we can spend like 1 minute per day to clean up your inbox. And maybe you want to add, and this is something that will come out, I think, soon with Swarm, where you actually will be able through an API, you will be able to say like, how long do you think you will need this data? And then automatically all the calculations and like the really complex stuff will happen. This is actually, sorry, I forgot. This is the last slide of my presentation. So, you know, I really thought this was a fun pun. Remember to forget, please. Voila, thank you. Do we still have time? Est-ce qu'on a du temps? 5 minutes. So I would like to invite, so there's like many people with Swarm here, so if you want to ask like any questions about data, decentralized data storage and messaging and communication. Yes, please.
What's the, explain like an I'm5 of the whole automatic deleting of decentralized storage?
Danny or Rinke, who of you guys can explain like I'm 5?
I'm not actually 5.
Well, no, you're definitely not 5. Danny, can you maybe come on stage?
So by default, it's not secure that it's going to be deleted. It's just in the interest of every node to use their storage in such a way that whatever hasn't been paid for is getting overwritten by what has. So that doesn't give you a guarantee of deleting. The stuff that gives you a guarantee of deleting, it should be uploaded as stuff that can be deleted. So it's a special kind of upload. And basically the idea there is that so there's a cryptographic key that is formed from a set of data which is later expanded, which means that the cryptographic key is no longer reconstructible, which means that even if the data is still in Swarm, you cannot no longer decrypt it unless you have stored at least as much information as the data itself, but then you could have just saved it.
Oh, okay. So if someone decrypts that data? If someone decrypts that data, then they could technically still keep it?
No, of course.
So cool. This was also, thank you for also explaining it like I only have 5 minutes. That's really good. I mean, you can talk for hours about this one topic. Yes. Are there any other questions? You can also ask a question about this forgetting stuff. But yeah. Yes, the man in the white.
So when you're talking about like storing data like front end, the bigger issue I would see is that your computer stores data on the back end. It just automatically, when you buy a computer, it's programmed by someone else. That software collects a lot of your info. And it's not just your info, it's all the stuff you transactional data, all of the stuff that you do on that computer is now stored. And even if you delete it on the front end, it's still kind of on your hard drive.
Is there a question in there?
Is there any way to like negate that part of it too? Like, do you have an idea for negating
No.
that part of it?
No, I really, no, I have, so it was really hard for me to end the presentation because I do think there's a problem with how we treat data and how we do data hoarding, but I think basically because, you know, how the internet and software came to existence is based in a capitalistic system where it's like a good thing to keep all this data and to hoard a lot of stuff. You know, SureGuard in America, right? They basically hack or use like a weakness in the human's brains where they, you know, after a couple of months they forget what they stored there and then they raise the price. So it's basically exactly what iCloud does or what Google does. So I think as long as we don't fix the economic incentives there, it's gonna happen. So yeah, I think we're gonna need like, you know, like real incentives with a real token of value to do that. But hey, we're almost there. Yes, the man in the gray with the Swarm T-shirt.
So Michel, this resonates with me, this forgetting data, because my dad's kind of a hoarder and he's passing that on me with the data storage as well. But there's every hoarder asks one question, like, how can I distinguish things that I will need and things that I will not need? Do you have some answer for that? Because, I mean, maybe I tweeted for the first time ever, and I want to save that as an NFT, right? So that kind of goes against all this. Do you have some idea how to answer this question?
Yes, I have an idea how to answer the question. I don't know if I can answer the question. I really believe that this is, people have to figure out what's valuable to them and what's not, right? This is the question a hoarder doesn't do. Yeah, I have a girlfriend who helps me with that. So every once in a while she tells me like, do you really need all these shoes, or do you really need all these clothes? At least we have an incentive also in we have limited storage capacity if we don't want, if we still want to live in our house and not like fall over shoes. So we have an incentive to do that, and I think once data really is incentivized, or like keeping data is incentivized, this will come naturally. Now, very practically, how to do that? At this kind of conference, I would say like AI. AI will solve it. No. Yes, the other man with the gray T-shirt with Swarm logo on it.
Maybe also want to add to that.
Oh, yeah, maybe you have a microphone.
Yeah, so other man in the Swarm T-shirts.
This is what you call an echo chamber, guys. It's like literally like.
No, I maybe want to add to that as well. I mean, it's not strange, that you don't know how to delete data. I also don't know it myself, but I think it's important to realize that it's basically because of the software we're using, and that if you don't teach a kid ever to throw away stuff, it will just not know how to do that. And that's what these data hoarders, they have an actual problem, because they were never taught to throw away stuff. So the fact that me and you and basically 90% of the people in this room just don't know how to throw away data, it's not surprising, but I think it's actually a problem, right? And I think that's thank you for the presentation, because I really believe you're touching upon a very important point, and I think we should start this conversation about this, right? So, yeah.
So yeah, this was meant as a conversation starter. So yeah, that's good. So I think, yes, the man in not a Swarm T-shirt. Yes.
Assuming you do actually know what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep, how do you say keep it user-friendly? Because, for example, I make maybe 5 pictures a month, yet I still have thousands of photos on my phone because it just streams in from WhatsApp, it streams in from just being downloaded in random places.
So are these your pictures, you mean, that's come in a stream?
No.
Kevin, this is my talk, eh? Oh, yeah. No, say that again. I didn't understand the question.
Comes down to we generate so much data. How do you keep it user-friendly? Do you just do it on a day-by-day basis? For example, do you ask every day, hey, do you want to keep everything from today? Do you have to sift through every day?
The thing is, what I'm proposing here is that we tackle the problem at the root, which is don't create all this data. So this would be better for again, for privacy, society, for yourself, for also the planet. So, but I'm really not good. I have tons of data on hard drives and on clouds, and that's why I present this, right? Because it's a personal problem for me as well. I even have tons of keys, which is the scariest part, right? I have all these old Ethereum key pairs on USB sticks and shit, and maybe they were worthless years ago, right? I mean, not worthless, but just a couple of cents for some gas, for some testing. But now we are sitting on probably hundreds of key pairs, and it maybe has a little bit of ether on it, which is worth more. So yeah, this is a personal problem for me as well. I don't know.
Right, so we just stop ourselves from creating it and storing it rather than looking at it afterwards.
Yeah, and thinking about ourselves, right? The reason all this data gets stored, the reason why everything is tracked, is not for us. It's because we can be packaged and sold as a product to other companies. So it's not our problem. Does that make sense? It's a problem someone else is creating for us. Otherwise we would just not. Is that the police? Okay, shit. Okay, so we'll round it up now.
All right, thank
I
you.
will no longer talk about these things. So thank you so much for the chance. Thank you.